And President Trump, his personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, will be in court today at his own request in an effort to stop prosecutors from reviewing files seized in last week's raid. Cohen has asked a federal judge to allow President Trump to go through and determine which documents can be withheld from the investigation because of attorney-client privilege. Not only will Cohen face a federal judge today, but he might come face-to-face with Stormy Daniels, the adult film star he paid $130 grand to keep quiet. Stormy Daniels is also expected to be in the courtroom and watch from the stands. I want to bring in Robert Costa, a national reporter for the Washington Post and moderator of Washington Week on PBS, and Evan and Tim still with us. Okay, Robert, President tweeted over the weekend, attorney-client privilege is now a thing of the past. Okay, that's the president's narrative. That's what his supporters want to say. What is that going to mean in a courtroom? From your reporting, what are you hearing?
It's going to be Judge Kimba Wood's decision about what's allowable in terms of the material collected by the federal government, by the Southern District of New York last week. You have both the president's personal attorney and Michael Cohen's attorneys trying to have some say over what's reviewable or not. But a lot of times with these seizures of documents, it's more up to the discretion of the investigators themselves and the courts, not necessarily those who are being investigated.
All right, we're going to walk through, Robert, this McClatchy piece, because McClatchy has been reporting that back in 2016, there was a period of time when Michael Cohen was in Prague. That's obviously of particular interest to Robert Mueller, and Michael Cohen is double, triple, quadrupling down, saying, no way, Jose, I was in Los Angeles. So this one is very black and white. Where do you think it's going to go from here?
As you said, Cohen has denied being in Prague to meet with a Russian figure. This has been a question mark throughout the past year as the investigation into possible Russian collusion has unfolded. At the same time, McClatchy has its report. That report has not been corroborated by the Washington Post, so I don't want to speculate too much about the McClatchy story. But you just see the interactions between Michael Cohen and different people throughout the campaign. That is the target for these investigators. He has been confirmed to be a criminal target. Part of that is not only his financial dealings, but possible meetings with Russians.
Tim, in your new piece out on Bloomberg, you argue that Michael Cohen is not the biggest fish. He doesn't know that much compared to others, and maybe we're putting too much pressure on it.
Well, he certainly knows a lot about elements of the Russian investigation that are important to Mueller. Deals with Felix Sater, obviously an attempt to build Trump Tower in Moscow during the campaign season, and he was Trump's fixer on stuff that's potentially embarrassing the president, like Stormy Daniels. However, he didn't run the Trump organization. He was not Trump's primary legal advisor in the Trump organization. He's one of these many sort of hangers-on who floats around the Trump universe. There were other people at the Trump organization, for example, his in-house counsel, Jason Greenblatt, and his CFO, Ellen Weisselberg, who often had a final say on how deals looked and what got signed off upon. Presumably, depending on how deep Bob Mueller goes in his investigation, those folks will be of interest to him. And they've been at the organization longer. Weisselberg goes back decades with the Trump family. Greenblatt's been an attorney at the Trump organization since 1997. He predated Michael Cohen by a decade. And I think that Cohen matters. He's very important, but I think the idea that the Cohen prosecution, or the hot water that Cohen is in right now, represents the end game in the Trump investigation or the Trump presidency, I think is way premature.
Evan, Cohen matters. How much does Stormy Daniels matter? I mean, the $130,000 payment, possibly a misuse of campaign funds or campaign finance rule violation, or is she just the tip of the iceberg and this is about corrupt or bad business practices?
Well, Stormy Daniels herself and the case she's bringing forward is not that big a deal in the grand scheme of things and what the president is facing with what Mueller is investigating. Yes, there might have been FEC violations, and Michael Cohen should be held accountable for that, and anybody else who is involved. But I think Stormy Daniels has also hurt herself with Michael Avenatti constantly out there. I've represented clients in legal cases who are not even going on TV, and the whole point is when they or their lawyers go on TV to talk about the case, the opposition can argue they're just using it as an excuse to get on air and get publicity for themselves. And I think that what we're really seeing here with the president saying attorney-client privilege is dead, First of all, Don Jr. is most freaked out because he claimed attorney-client privilege for saying he can't talk about what he said to his father because he's apparently an attorney. But
Don Jr. is an attorney?
Apparently.
Because Don Jr. went to law school, that's
I think
his
Don
claim?
Jr. put his hand on a rock and said, I am an attorney. That's not how it works, but
Got
sure.
it.
But no, Don Jr. is claiming that. But the attorney-client privilege, Judge Kimba Wood, she is very well respected throughout the legal community. And I think she will make sure that all sides are adhering to the law. And she's not going to let a circus happen in her courtroom.
And if investigators wanted the Trump folks to review these documents before turning them over, they would have issued a subpoena. They went in through the door with a search warrant and gathered everything they wanted.
And it's important they went in through the door with a search warrant. They didn't break it down. Remember, last week, soon after the raid, when the president spoke, he said they broke in. No one broke in, and Michael Cohen has said they were respectful and he cooperated with them. So as the president spins a narrative, let's make sure we get you the straight one. Robert, thank you. You two, we're going to take a break.